Chapter 31. I asked Zam if the people surrounding me were gnomes.
They must have been. You were somewhere in gnome caverns. I saw a glow iron again.
Was I much older than I am now? Perhaps you'd seen years into the future.
I couldn't tell. It could be tomorrow or 10 years hence.
Must it happen?
No. You could come to a crossroad and choose a different direction, or the figure gloating over you might.
But the likelihood is that it will come to pass, yes? Zam nodded.
Yes, to be exact.
What should I do?
Be cautious. When you have a decision to make, consider carefully. Violence is rare here, but a gnome is an implacable enemy.
If I departed Gnome Caverns and never returned, I'd be safe from Zam's prediction. I thought it over in bed that night and decided to remain at least until the armorers returned from Antio Castle. Their news would help me choose how to proceed. The next day, the messenger arrived from the feather bed with a letter from Mother and Father. I took it to my bed cavern to read. When I opened it, I found a note from Ijori tucked inside. Ijori! At the feather bed? My heart skipped, then beat too fast. I read his first. Dear heart, I write in fear that you will never read my words, that evil, more evil, has befallen you, and you are beyond the reach of my love. I have given this note to your good parents in case you come here, although you mustn't stay with them. If you do, you will certainly be discovered. In the Queen's apartments after the sing, I was too angry for clear thought, but in the night that followed, I grew certain that you told the truth. I know the Queen. It is far more likely that she threatened you than that you contrived for position and power. Indeed, it is more likely for the sun to turn blue than for you to be a schemer. Please forgive my distrust. If you don't, I'll never forgive myself. However, I still wish you'd confided in me. We would have found a way out together. I hope the change in your appearance was not forced on you, too. Paradoxically, I also hope you didn't choose it. I never thought you ugly. I should have told you long ago. No one has eyes like yours, or an aroma like yours. I loved the size of you from the first. I am searching for you. I sing of you as I search. You are my love. I hope someday to be yours once again. Your penitent Ijori. I forgave him. Of course I forgave him. He needn't repent. Now that I was beautiful, I didn't want to believe he'd never thought me ugly. But perhaps it was true. He was extraordinary. I wondered if we'd ever be together again. I was likely to die here, but at least he wouldn't think I was already dead. If he was away searching for me, he wouldn't hear Uji's tale of my death. I opened Mother and Father's letter. Mother wrote that guards had come. They had searched the inn while guests stood outside in a rainstorm. Afterwards, the guards had questioned everyone. They wanted to know if we'd seen any ogreish tendencies in you. We said absolutely not. Father sang 5 verses of your virtues. Yari and Olo and I trotted out all our old songs to you and yours to us, whether those guards wanted to hear them or not. I started to cry. The letter went on. We were told that land won't come to us after all, but that Aortha will pay for the new roof and the new wing. As Ajori had promised, the crown had been generous. At first we doubted who would stay in the new wing or under the new roof. Half our guests decamped immediately after the guards did. But then the prince and his dog came, and the half who stayed were thrilled. The prince saved us, I'm sure. Father is fashioning a wooden sign with the date of His Highness's visit. Prince Ajori seems to think as little of the lies about you as we do. We think he is a fine young man, with a fine ear for true notes and false. Father wishes to add a few words. I am, as always, your loving mother. He wrote,
Daughter, we didn't need your note, or a prince's visit, to tell us you'd done nothing wrong. We know the daughter we raised. We fear for your future, but never for your character. You take our love and our trust wherever you wander. Father.
I wept harder. Zam, out of his endless goodness, sent the messenger back into the world to find Ajori.
But be cautious in your inquiries, he instructed. We don't want Maid Azak linked with the gnomes. When you find Prince Ajori, tell him his love is well, but tell him not to come. He turned to me. It isn't safe until we're certain the court believes you dead. I was eager to write a reply to Ajori, assuring him of love and forgiveness. Write it, Sam said. Say what you want him to know, but it mustn't be set. It might fall into the wrong hands. To be exact, it might cause my prediction to come true. I did write the note. A song. When you pet Uchu, my dearest, you pause, your palm so close. The air shivers, and then your hand, light as snow, velvet fingers, bestows love behind the ears, beneath the chin. You'll be king. I may not see it. You'll rule with the hand light as snow, velvet fingers. Love beyond the throne. Love to the borders. I wish you well. Zam promised to give Ajori the note if anything happened to me. I received more requests for songs. I sang at celebrations of all sorts, opening a new home cavern, a betrothal, a gold strike, the repayment of a debt. In a month I half filled a purse with gems, small ones to be exact. I turned 16. I didn't tell Zam. He would have given me gifts, and he'd given me too much already. The armorers hadn't yet returned from Antio Castle, but Zam said he expected them daily. One morning he asked if I'd like to see him at work. I was eager to watch. In Aorthe, trials were decided by panels of judges. The gnomes, however, allowed a single judge to rule on cases and dole out punishments. Court was held in their queen's throne room. She wasn't present, and I'd never seen her. Zam said she was elderly and rarely left her bed. 2 rows of benches had been set up, with an aisle down the middle. Zam sat in a high-backed silver chair facing the benches. He donned a jeweled cap with 2 bills, turning the cap so the bills were above his ears. I sat at the end of the first bench. A dozen gnomes, men, women, and 3 children, came in and sat near me. A minute later a solitary male gnome entered and chose a bench on the other side of the aisle. Zam said, "Who has the complaint?" The man seated next to me said, "I do, Wujie Zam. I am Locke. Rig stole my shovel." Rig denied stealing anything. The other gnomes described the circumstances surrounding the theft. I believed them. At the end, Zam turned his cap around so the bills pointed front and back. He closed his eyes. People began to chat. Rick took a lanyard out of his pocket of his tunic and began to work on it. After a full 10 minutes, Zam opened his eyes. "This is my judgment. Rick, I am convinced you stole the shovel. You may keep it." I blushed for Zam. I'd expected wisdom from him. The other gnomes left the room without protest. He chuckled. "I see your face, Maid Azak. Our methods are unlike human methods. For us, a trial is a crossroad. When I turned my cap, I looked into the future. I imagined several possible rulings and what would result from them." If only Sir Ulu had been able to look into the future before he'd accused me. He'd have seen I wouldn't have harmed anyone. If only he'd looked carefully into the past. "In this case," Sam said, "I was reluctant to let the thief have the shovel, but in every future I imagined, the shovel's owner was better off without it, and the thief was a more honest gnome with it." "But Wujie Zam," I said, "stealing is wrong. Shouldn't the thief be punished regardless of what's to come?" "Never regardless." He removed his judge's hat and stood. "In this instance, every possible punishment made this thief more likely to steal again." I didn't approve of gnomish justice. If Zam were to judge Ivy for her crimes, he might foresee that my future, and Aorthea's future, and Ivy's future conduct as well, would be better if she weren't punished. Then he wouldn't punish her. It made me angry even to think of. We'd suffered at her hands. I still suffered. I wrote a ditty about the trial.
Who judges the judge who judges wrong? The sentence too weak, the sentence too strong, the penance too quick, the penance too long? Who judges the judge who judges wrong?